Okay, here we go. Hey everyone, welcome to Grace of Bell. I'm Natalie Grace, and at Grace of Bell, we explore topics on faith, motherhood, womanhood, marriage, simple, joyful living, lots of different things. Um, okay, I feel like I always start these light and joyful, and then somewhere down the lane, I get very intense. My husband pointed this out to me. He's like, babe, like you can have a laugh and take the ease off. And he's Irish, so he knows how to have a laugh. But yeah, I'm just like, well, I mean, Cain and Abel, marriage destruction, jealousy. Like, I just get very passionate. I don't know. Maybe we need to change the slogan of Grace Bell from joyful living to chaos and crisis with Natalie Grace. I don't know. But today's topic is a little more relaxed. So we're going to keep things lighthearted. We'll see how we do. And we're going to jump right into it. So it's so interesting to me how in life there are these moments that we can spend so long anticipating, envisioning, planning out years, if not decades, an engagement, a graduation, a wedding, insert whatever milestone, and then they just happen so fast. It's like we spend a disproportionate amount of time thinking about them versus actually living them. And so when they're done, it's kind of just like, oh, like what now? I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but I suppose this is something that's been on my mind because in a lot of ways, I feel like I'm living it. Don't get me wrong. I know that I still have lots of celebrations, exciting moments ahead. I'm still young, but a lot of the big ones that I've spent a long time anticipating, thinking about, dreaming about have come and gone. Like I graduated, I got engaged, I had a wedding, and I became a mother, which has been the greatest blessing of all. And God willing, I'll be a mother of more children. And I don't, it's not lost on me how fortunate I am to sit here and say I've lived these moments. Truly, I feel so blessed. And I don't mean to like throw that in anyone's face, like, oh, I've done all these things. I'm just acknowledging that it's just a strange shift in perspective when you're no longer anticipating or looking forward to these big moments. And I know that there is this thing in psychology where people who complete a milestone or hit a goal can fall into this a bit of a state of can fall into a bit of a limbo or even depression because so much of their happiness was in that hope, the hope of the journey. And I mean, like, not to be dramatic, but after my wedding, I experienced an emotional low that even surprised me. And like, of course, I'm not the only bride to go through a case of wedding blues. But for us, we had waited 3 years from the time we got engaged to walking down the aisle. So it felt like a really long anticipation. And it was all during COVID-19. So we even had our baby boy in between then, and our families were meeting for the very first time at our wedding in Ireland. So it didn't even feel like just a wedding. Like it felt like this big family reunion, holiday celebration that we'd been looking forward to for so long. Like every time we went back to Ireland, we were exploring ideas or visiting the venue and in just such a fun and exciting way. And so when it was all over, I just felt like a little lost. I don't know. Like obviously so beyond grateful to have had the experience and to finally be married, all those things. But I just felt this like sinking feeling of like, wait, like this moment that I've spent the last 3 years thinking about, but like in some ways, my whole life, really, because a wedding is kind of something in the back of your head. Like, I mean, I wasn't one of those girls who like really fantasized about her wedding, but it is kind of always something that it's just kind of like there in the back. You kind of think, oh, what's my wedding going to be like? And it's just done, you know, checked off, moving on. And yeah, I just, it really, it took me by surprise how much I just felt a little bit off balance after our wedding. And, eventually I did get past the wedding blues and I was, genuinely happy to be back to normal life, no longer thinking about the wedding, kind of worrying about those little things. Like, but that whole experience did have me reflecting on how we can so often define our life by these big special occasions, these big milestones, when really they only take up the tiniest, smallest fraction of our life. Most of our life exists in the ordinary day-to-day rhythms of working, parenting, responsibilities, mundane tasks. And the thing I've come to realize is that our ordinary is extraordinary. And that might not be sitting with you right now, but it's true. Our ordinary is extraordinary. And I love celebrating big moments, and I think that they are a wonderful reason to bring people together, to create memories. I don't think anyone should feel bad about wanting to celebrate these big things in life. I won't pretend I didn't have a castle wedding in Ireland. So, of course, I do. I love celebrating big moments. But the thing is, that's not what makes a good life. And for what it's worth, a small, intimate backyard wedding is just as beautiful. Because why those moments are special is not the event itself, but who you're celebrating them with and why you're celebrating. And yes, while these celebrations can be amazing, you know what else is pretty amazing? I have my list here. My quiet time, 5:30 a.m. House still sleeping, just my journal, me and Jesus. The first sips of coffee in the morning with the sunlight streaming in. Morning cuddles with my son and my husband, or when I see my son's face light up from getting his little puzzle piece in, just those little things that you get to see when you see the world through children's eyes. When I actually bake something right, fresh croissants on Saturday morning, my husband playing his guitar while my son just dances around, when we have a weekend that has no obligations, but just getting to hang out. A deep clean. Okay, hands up. I'm not the tidiest person. But truly, like, nothing beats the satisfaction from when I get into my bathroom or kitchen and do like a deep clean. Like, I don't love it starting, but like 10 minutes in, when I got my music and like audiobook, like it's so satisfying. And the best satisfaction is when you just get to sit there after, just like light a candle and just soak in what your hands just did. The hard work of your hands in that sparkling bathroom. I don't know. It's a great feeling. Maybe it's just me, but yeah. Speaking of joy and cleaning, finding joy in cleaning, I have this little story. So when we first moved into this apartment, there was no dishwasher. So I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to be spending all this time at the sink, I'm just going to make the most of it. So I would listen to an audiobook as I was cleaning. I made a little routine of it to put Scotty down and then go into the kitchen, get my gloves on, put on a book, audiobook, and just get stuck in. And it was great because time would actually go by really fast. And yeah, definitely, I recommend it. But one night I am just immersed in my book, and it was Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers, which is such a beautiful book, by the way. If you're looking for a good book, highly recommend. But yeah, so I'm just at this point, I mean, dishes are done, kitchen's clean. I'm just doing random things, scrubbing the counters, just totally into this book. And it was at this very emotional part, and Sean walks in, and I am now just tears streaming down my face, crying, sanitizing the fridge. And he's like, "Is everything okay? Like, are you good? Can you come to bed?" Like, I'm just like, but this book is just so beautiful, and oh my god, this just happened, and oh man, he's like, who is this? Who did I marry? He's had a lot of moments like that, especially if as I've grown spiritually. He's just come in on very interesting occasions, just as I'm worshiping, singing out loud. I don't know. Anyways, but you know what? I really made the most of having no dishwasher, and I won't lie. We eventually got a dishwasher, and I was kind of like, man, I feel like this dishwasher is like cramping my me time, my romance novel time. But yeah, that's my story. Um, but bringing it back in, you guys, simple things. We can embrace the big moments in life and the very ordinary ones, like doing the dishes. And yeah, if you ever feel discouraged, like, your life, you don't feel like your life doesn't look as exciting as it should, or you're not doing as many things, or I don't know, it doesn't look like someone's highlight reel, well, you can take some comfort in knowing that extraordinary things are birthed in the ordinary. And this message is woven all throughout the Bible. If you just look at the most prominent people, Moses, yes, he freed the Israelites from slavery, but a lot of his life was just tending to sheep, waiting around, dealing with people's complaints, a lot of mundane things that he had to do. Mother Mary, mother of Jesus, she's just living her ordinary life, and then is told that she's going to carry the Messiah, the Son of God. And obviously, that is extraordinary. And yet, she's going to just carry on like any mother would, just nursing her baby, changing him, keeping him safe, doing the basic motherhood things. On the outside, nothing looked special. Jesus was born in a stable, after all. But we know that her ordinary was extraordinary. And the same is true for you and your life. It does not matter if you are answering phones at a front desk, changing a diaper, or running the company. We are all vessels for God to perform His extraordinary work. And when we are part of His divine plan, anything becomes extraordinary. And I know this message is countercultural because we live in a world that can often send the message that ordinary is not good enough, that a rewarding life is measured by achievements, titles, followers, fancy vacations, earnings, etc. And while I do believe in working hard and having goals and celebrating our wins, I also know that a good life is not just found in those highlight reels. It's found in the ways that we love, how we serve, and how we show up in the small moments, because that is most of our life. And if we focus so much on the next milestone and the achievement and and just on those big highlight reel moments, then we will miss the richness of today. We'll miss the richness of what's right in front of us, or the message that is trying to make its way to us. And this lesson like really resonated with me in motherhood, because nothing quite forces you to slow down like having a baby. A lot of us come from a very fast-paced world, especially if we were, working all the way up to before maternity leave. But babies don't operate that way. Everything is very slow. So I had to really slow down. And honestly, it was in my most uneventful, ordinary, and truthfully sometimes boring days of motherhood, because there is a lot of wonder and awe in being a mother and having a baby, but I'd be lying if I said it was always that. It could be boring, but it was in those moments where I grew the most, and I really learned to seek God, and I feel that I had my most transformation. I just remember this one time I was watching Scotty in the bath. And by now, at this point, my life was very much into the rhythms of stroller walks, parks, nursing, nap time, teething battles. Scotty was almost a year by now, so I'd been home with him for almost about a year. And I was just watching him play in the bath, and I just had this thought cross my mind, like, he's so dependent on me. Like, obviously it was something I knew, but for some reason I just really sat there thinking about it. And I was like, he's just so dependent on me. Like, if something were to happen to me, if I were to just pass out, or I don't know, he couldn't get out of the bath. Or if he could, he'd be running around wet, no diaper on, couldn't warm himself. Like, it would just be a total mess. And then as I was sitting there, I felt like God pressed something on my heart, which was, that's how much I need you to depend on me. Depend on me how he depends on you. And let me tell you, at this time, I was wrestling with a lot of unknowns. Where are we going to live? We're going to have to move to a bigger place. Am I going to go back to work? What are we going to do for childcare for Scott? Am I even ready for this? Like, just so many questions in my brain. And in that moment, I just feel like I was just reminded, like, abide in me, rest in me, keep your eyes on me, and everything will be okay. Be still and know that I am God. And it was just, it wasn't an audible voice or anything like that. It was just this, like, these thoughts that really aligned with what I had been reading and kind of learning about God and then his nature. And it was just this, like, comforting, like, yeah, I don't need to worry about all these things. Like, that is in your hands. And it really did shift my perspective, and embracing a dependency on God, how he calls us to, because he really does call us to become like little children and depend on him in that way. And there's just been so many moments where my child has taught me so much about God's nature, and just it was in those ordinary moments where I kind of began to really understand things that I don't think that I really would have if I had not been given that really quiet time, the kind of stillness of just sitting there, sometimes in boring times. But yeah, so I don't know if that might just give you some encouragement if you're kind of there right now. And the priest that I've had truly the privilege of learning from, he's such a wise, gentle, kind man. If all priests were like him, then I'm sure the church would have a very different reputation. But yeah, he said something that really struck me, which was hearing God is a little like the radio. It's always on, but we have to adjust our posture to tune in. And a lot of us are not tuning in because we are distracted. There's so many things in this world that are calling our attention, our phones, our social media, meetings, entertainment. There can just be so many distractions, and I am not a good example because I am so easily distracted. Um, you know what? Sometimes people will get upset at me because I am not answering my phone or I turn my phone off. And truly, it's because I know me and the number of times that I've gone on my phone to just check one thing, to check the weather, to answer a message. And like 45 minutes later, I'm off doing something completely different. Like I'm researching a product or I'm like ruminating on some memory from 7 years ago, like thinking about something I said or did. Like, I don't know, just like the talent of technology today not is no joke. Like seriously. So I am no shining example of not being distracted. Yeah, and then there's also just real concerns that we have, not just fluffy distractions, but our health, our loved ones, like financial pressures. It's hard to stay present. It is in this world. But I really feel like those ordinary moments, whether it's walking to work, doing the dishes, or watching your children play, can be opportunities for us to create the space to listen and to maybe receive a message of guidance that we need in our life. And if you are someone who is thinking, well, slowing down is hindering my productivity, I just have things to do, places to be, go, 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 I'll hire people to do my dishes, whatever, I don't know. But if you're someone who's sitting here thinking that slowing down is going to hinder your productivity, then you need to ask yourself, what advantage is speed when I am going in the wrong direction? Okay, that is from a Stephanie E.K. sermon. She said that once, and I was just like, wow, that's good. It really sat with me. What advantage is speed when you are going in the wrong direction? And there are so many of us who are just full of ambition, checking off accomplishments, busying our schedules, but we're neglecting the most important question, which is this where I should be? God, is this even where you want me? Is this what I should be doing? Am I going in the right direction? And at the end of the day, God is the only one who knew you before you arrived here. He knows you better than you know yourself, down to the number of hairs on your head. And He loves you better than you love yourself. So don't you think that His guidance is worth creating space for, to listen for? I know it's not easy, but no one's looking. Perfection shouldn't be the goal, but just to really take time to embrace those ordinary moments could be moments where you could really receive a message that you're needing in your life. And so that is my message today. I feel like it was a shorter one, but that is my message. Really embrace slowing down, the ordinary simplicity of life. You don't have to feel like you are achieving things, gaining titles, going on fancy vacations, just living a busy life in order to feel like you're living a fulfilling life. A good life is really found in the day-to-day rhythms of how we love, how we serve, and what we leave in people. And if you feel like if you don't see the meaning behind whatever ordinary thing you're doing, then you can just take comfort in the fact that any ordinary thing done with the Spirit of God becomes extraordinary. And you might not see your impact, but the one who matters does. And so I'm just going to leave you with this. What simple things are you thankful for today? I wrote my list, my sips of morning coffee, cleaning the bathroom, sanitizing the fridge. But no, what simple things are you thankful for in your life today? That's it for me. Thank you guys so much for being here. And as always, I love to hear your feedback. Love to know how you received this message today. And I will see you next time. God bless.